Welcome back. You're tuning in to Traders Nation. My pleasure to have with us here today William Poundstone, author of Priceless, The Myth of Fair Value, and How to Take Advantage of It. Bill, welcome to Traders Nation. How are you today?
Yeah, pretty good.
Good, Bill. Let me run something by here, Bill. You know, I don't know what it is. I don't know if anybody knows, but I'm paying the same amount for toilet paper, and I'm not getting the same big roll that I used to. Is that what we're talking about here in Priceless?
Yeah, a lot of the toilet paper manufacturers are making the paper narrower now.
Right.
And the reason they do that, they know, obviously they have to pass on inflationary increases in price, but every time they do that, people tend to switch brands. Right. So they try to avoid increasing the price by giving you less product.
Right. All right. So they have, this is like on a lot of products too. You see the containers are slightly smaller. For instance, it may have been like a 12 ouncer, now it's 11.25. They really got this down to a science as far as downsizing the amount of product that they're putting out and keeping the price to remaining the same.
Yeah, exactly. It's really the barcode scanning and the internet sales and everything. Everything is quantitative now, so they're finding out what causes people to switch brands and what doesn't, and using that.
Sure. All right. So, but don't they run a fine line of if they downsize their product and what they're delivering for the same price? Don't they run the risk though of having that consumer go to another product? Maybe a store product, a store brand where the value actually is there better.
Yeah, they will if the consumer notices. So right. Really the job of these price consultants is to make sure that you don't notice. And one of the tools they use are those loyalty cards that you swipe.
Right.
Because the people who swipe those, first of all, are the more price-sensitive consumers. Because, you're swiping that because you can't bear the thought that you're going to lose a 20% discount.
Right.
And they know what things you've bought recently, what things you buy infrequently. So they try to make sure that they don't increase the price on things you buy a lot, where you're going to remember the price, and instead they try to make up their margin on the infrequently purchased things.
Okay, Bill, should consumers be concerned about those swipe card programs? I mean, it is a data information world. Should they be concerned about that at all?
Again, it's not you specifically. Yeah. It's the group. It sort of depends on how paranoid you are, you know. Sure. I'm not real concerned about it myself, but I can understand that some people are.
Right. Well, it's because it's tracking. It's like you said, because of tracking and everything else. All right, so there is a science, no doubt, in marketing, in the way these companies market, and they realize what those trigger points are when it comes to consumers. Give us a good example as far as what you wrote in Priceless in how these companies come together, their matrix, if you will, on consumers and where and how consumers spend.
Yeah. Well, with basically the big revolution in this was the barcode scanning and everything becoming digitized. A good example is there's a principle called anchoring that was discovered by a psychologist, Daniel Kahneman, who won the 2002 Nobel Prize in Economics. And in the past 10 years particularly, it's become very important in anchoring. They basically found that people don't have a strong innate sense of what things should cost. Like if you're pricing luxury leather goods, like very expensive handbags, any sort of price is plausible because there's going to be a high markup.
Right.
But they found that if a store will have one very, very expensive thing, like a $20,000 handbag,
right.
They won't sell many of those handbags, but they don't care about that because they can put next to it, say, a $2,000 handbag that will look reasonably priced in comparison.
Sure.
And they've done actual studies and found that it works that way. So a lot of stores are adopting that practice.
Right. All right. So they get this high-end stuff, and then again, lower-end stuff. They're able to base a better judgment on as far as pricing is concerned and fairness. Right. I mean, that's amazing. That's almost the opposite of that giveaway, that freebie that companies do, that tend to do, or that loss leader, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of the opposite of that, and it has a very interesting effect. It's used on menus. It's used everywhere. They found that if you have one very expensive entree on the menu, everyone will look at it, shake their heads, and then order something more expensive than they would have otherwise.
All right, so these marketing companies, breaking it down real simple, these marketing companies can actually guide you to other areas of where they really want you to be. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. One of the analogies they make is it's much like a magician. They're very good at misdirecting you, at putting your attention where they want it to be, and that's where they can get you to pay more than you intended.
All right. Well, you talk about price consultants in Priceless, and they're advising retailers on how to convince consumers to pay more for less. How do they pull this off?
Yeah, well, it's basically using the psychology of decision-making, which was really developed about starting in the 1970s, but it's become very influential, and so they're using some of these ideas. One of the classic tricks is prices ending in 9. They've done studies where a catalog retailer will offer the same item for $35 and $39, and more people will buy it at $39. Somehow that magic number 9 conveys the impression that it's been discounted, and people will just have this reflex action and are more inclined to buy it. So that's why you see an awful lot of prices ending in 9.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. Does that apply to the same principle of the 99 cent? For instance, let's say $5 versus $4.99. Is that the same principle, or is that just another number? Or is
yeah,
that's
the same principle. It's known as a charm price that ends in 9.
Yeah.
And a lot of people figure it's mental rounding. $4.99 sounds less tan $5, but then they've done these experiments, as I say, where even $4.99 will sell better than $4.50. So there really, is an interesting mental quirk there, and they're certainly taking advantage of it.
Earlier, you were talking about fair prices and the feeling of people when they walk into stores and they have this. They look at an item and they don't they have like an internal fairness sensor, or don't we have that in us? Either it feels right or it doesn't, right?
Well, they certainly do have an inner fairness sensor, but that's all based on relative things. If you compare prices to something else, so that's why if you have a very expensive shoe here and a cheaper shoe, the cheaper shoe is going to seem like a good deal, even if it's $2,000.
Right.
So it's all about contrast, all about comparisons, and not so much people really don't have a sense of what the absolute value should be.
Right. And in the end, if they really want it, they're going to justify the cost, right? Consumers will.
Yes, you can make up all sorts of narratives in your mind about why you got a really great deal.
Sure, I know, I do. All right, Bill, if there's one thing we didn't talk about in Priceless that you really want to get the message out today to all of our national viewers, what would it be?
I think probably the most interesting example of this price psychology of messages. Because if you look at what you normally pay for bandwidth on a cell phone and then prorate that for what's involved in a text message, the fair cost would come to about 1/1000th of a cent. But of course that's totally irrelevant because they know they can get people to pay a lot more than that. And it's been one of the great success stories of marketing, but it's all psychological.
All right, Bill, where can we get a copy of Priceless today? Barnes & Noble, Amazon?
Yeah, it's Amazon and all the stores pretty much.
All right, what about a website, Bill? You got a website people can go to?
Yeah, I've got a blog. Just type in Poundstone Priceless. One of them's at Psychology Today's website.
All right, Poundstone Priceless, and of course there's a name. You can get the spelling on your screen here today, folks. All right, name of the book is Priceless, the Myth of Fair Value and How to Take Advantage of It today. Bill Poundstone with us here today. Bill, we do appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you.
You're more than welcome. All right, there you have it, folks. Head out today. BarnesandNoble.com, of course. Amazon.com, another great place you can get a copy of Priceless. And of course, head on over to Bill's blog that he's got. Some great information over there, I'm sure of it. Okay? And we do appreciate Bill's time here today with Priceless. Hopefully you got some good information from that, and it was priceless. All right?